Here.
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 Kurt, could you lead us to the salute to our flag? Thank you very much. Okay, the first item of business is the approval of the minutes of June 12th, study and regular session.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that carries unanimously. Brings us to public participation. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the board at this time? Okay, seeing none, we'll go to a record consent calendar, which are items 2 through 29.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor of approving the consent calendar, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that carries unanimously. Thank you. That brings us then to appearance items, which is item number 30, which is the approval of the proposed county budget and schedule for budget public hearings as a continuation from last week. There were some questions we had that the board had, and so we continued at that time. Mr. Combs?
Mr. Chairman, we presented the proposed budget to you last week. I summarized my memo, and therefore I will not do that again. We are asking for your board to adopt the recommendations presented to you, which will set the public hearings commencing July 10 at 9 a.m. at the Veterans Hall and continuing as required for a 14-day successive period. That will make the copies of the budget proposed budget available to the public, although frankly we have made that available to the public at this point since we do have the copies available, and authorize other activities as we discussed last week. Be happy to answer any questions the board has. Again, this is a technical action. The board required by law to adopt proposed budget for study. It does not approve the budget. All fixed assets and new positions except any specifically authorized by the board, and we are asking for some of those here, would not be approved until the final budget is approved, which will probably be sometime in September, because we go through the budget hearings, make the necessary adjustments, and then bring a final budget to your board for adoption as a result of your decisions made during budget hearings.
Any questions by board members? Oh, come on, somebody's got to have one question. No questions?
Well, I had one that was concerned. Joan had a little concern last week, and I'm just expressing hers, that there was some issue that she wanted addressed, but I guess maybe you've done that privately, or you know, there was a little issue that she wanted to look over, and I can't remember what it was.
We will have sufficient time to do that prior to budget hearings. I would indicate for the public that Supervisor Bechtel is not here this evening because in the past week her brother died, and she's been occupied with that, and so I'm sure that's consumed her time.
Yeah, Dan, to kind of follow up on that, had an indirect conversation, with Joan about that, and she felt comfortable with us going and taking action tonight on the recommendation by Mr. Combs. So
I also feel that way.
Yeah, from that standpoint. So I supported Joan's position last week out of courtesy to Joan, and so she's had time. Apparently I know she's been preoccupied now, but does not have a problem with carrying this forward tonight's agenda without her being here.
Okay, then if there's no other questions or comments, then I would ask for a motion to approve the proposed county budget.
I would make that motion that we approve.
Does that include the staff recommendations contained in the document?
Yes, it does.
Thank you.
Second.
Does that include the staff recommendation?
Well, only if I have to.
I'm sorry, I'm just checking. Huh? Sometimes. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, it carries unanimously.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, would you like me to deal with the off-agenda item at this point?
Probably a good time, yes, please.
You have in front of you a request from my office regarding Senate Bill 223 by Senator Burton. This item will involve providing funding for counties to enable us to do drug testing under the recently enacted Prop 36. We would ask your board to consider this item off agenda. That will take a 4/5 vote of the board.
Okay, I need a motion then to take this
So moved.
Second.
off agenda. Motion and second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, carries unanimously.
Mr. Chairman and board members, as you are well aware, you've been briefed on Prop 36. Prop 36 prohibits the use of funding that is available through Proposition 36 to do drug testing, although the program is aimed at removing people who are convicted of nonviolent drug-related crimes from the criminal justice system and giving them alternative sentencing that gets them out of the criminal justice system and gives them another chance. The criminal justice community, and we have representatives of both the sheriff and probation department here, if you wish to talk to them, feel very strongly drug testing is needed. We have included a modest amount of drug testing money in this year's proposed budget, $20,000. Senator Burton is actively pursuing acquiring state funding for this and has proposed an amount of $18 million statewide. We don't know how much of that would come to Sutter County, but we do in fact feel that that is an appropriate thing and it is necessary to do drug testing. So my office and the sheriff and probation department are recommending that you support SB 223. This item came to our attention last Friday after the agenda had already been released to the public, which is why we're dealing with it off agenda. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
Bill, my question would be, Bill or Chris, how far will this $20,000 go? I mean, how many of these tests are necessary per given calendar year normally? Just a number?
Chris, why don't you go up?
Yeah, please.
And identify yourself for the audience, please.
Christine Odom, I'm the Chief Probation Officer. 20,000 will be about a little less than 2 drug tests per month for about 125 proposed Prop 36 probationers. We test at varying rates now. Drug court candidates are tested anywhere from 8 to 12 times a month, which we think is an appropriate amount of drug testing to keep these folks honest. Regular probationers are tested randomly. Juveniles, misdemeanants, and felons, it would be a bit odd to have this specialized drug treatment program with no drug testing, or even testing at the rate of about 1.3 tests per month. That's just not sufficient. Methamphetamine alone will go through your system within 72 hours. You test them once a month, they have another 20 some odd days to use, and you're never going to detect it.
Does this money fund through adult as well as juvenile?
Prop 36 only affects adults. There is county general fund money utilized right now for drug testing of juveniles and adults that are not related to special programs.
Do you see any increase in the numbers of drug tests needed because of the, I know this, we went through this in one of the mental health sessions, because of the, rather than locking these people up, you thought it better to test and keep them on a system of cleaning them up. Do you see any more of a usury from this because of this new law?
Oh, certainly. These folks will not be incarcerated even after the second violation of probation. The object is to find appropriate programs for them. If they can use drugs and go to a program at the same time, we don't seem to be making much headway. We think that we do need to test them. The mental health professionals believe we do need to test, and testing them more than once a month is needed.
There's a lot of reasons why some people voted for Prop 36, and I've discussed this with you before. I don't necessarily agree that we need to do drug testing. My feeling is that these are people that are given the opportunity, they got caught, they went to court, and rather than going to jail, they're going to have to go through a program. And this is their time to perform. and you're saying that there is a second chance possibly?
At least 2.
And then, so in my mind, that is plenty of deterrent to say, you got caught, we caught you. And if we catch you the second time, we may do this again, but the third time, you're going to jail. So I don't see philosophically difference. I don't see personally the need for drug testing.
See, we think there are certain flaws in that proposition that we are now having to clean up. This is a major flaw. We believe in that proposition and why many of us opposed it when it was originally presented. There doesn't appear to be any point to let them continue to go to these programs and use on the outside, and their drug use escalates, and then they begin to commit more crimes. Methamphetamine users commit petty thefts in this community. You see a lot of thefts from the grocery stores of things like Sudafed. These folks will commit crimes. Methamphetamine is a very dangerous drug. It's very addictive. A crank user is not going to stop using just because you say go to this class. The money is also not sufficient to provide a lot of residential treatment. Most of the programs will be moderate educational counseling type programs because the money is not sufficient to do much else.
So if we send them directly to jail, does that clean them up?
Some, not all. We think drug court is the way to go. That's been a very successful program, but we can only put about 25 people in that program in any given year. We've pretty much reached capacity now. We've had a little over a year's experience and have only had 3 or 4 failures in drug court. That's intensive supervision, regular testing, and intensive counseling, and regular reviews with the court. They go to court once to 4 times a month, actually 2 to 4 times a month, to tell the judge how they're doing. They have educational programs. Drug court was the way to go. That's just not the way Prop 36 allows us to move forward.
So if you test them and they're dirty, then what?
We have the option of taking them back to court and filing a violation or reviewing their case to see whether another method of drug rehabilitation is suggested. We can't put them back in jail unless we can prove that they're a danger to the community. But drug offenders will tell you that knowing that they're going to be tested is a deterrent.
Okay, so let's say, once again, they're dirty. Shouldn't you then go back to court and say, we caught this person? Isn't that their second chance?
The second chance still allows them to go to another treatment program. So you can go to court just to say officially this is their first violation of probation. But we are required under that statute to offer them another more escalated treatment program.
Okay, so I guess a person who's having a problem then basically gets caught sooner.
I'm sorry?
They get caught sooner rather than...
We think it keeps them honest. But yes, it would catch them sooner.
These are honest?
Eventually, a methamphetamine user is going to get caught. But I don't know what kind of damage they're going to do to the community and their families before they are caught. We would have to certainly escalate the number of searches that we did if we weren't testing, because we wouldn't be able to detect them through urine testing. We'd have to try to increase the number of searches that are done to see if we can locate the drugs in their homes. That's also going to be difficult with the amount of money that we're receiving. At this point, we would only have 1 officer assigned to supervise those cases. You can't do a lot of searching with that ratio.
Chris, this program sounds like it hands your department, Health and Human Services, and the Sheriff's Department a bigger burden that already is overtaxed with the lack of employees that you both have. It just doesn't sound like good business. It just puts a real burden, it seems like, on both departments, very, very heavy burden.
I don't think that's totally true. I think the department's taken that on.
Well, it's a mandate.
Prop 36 tells you instead of going to jail, you go to a program.
But it
And
also
if-
requires that probation have certain responsibilities,
It
which
does.
is it requires that every
Probation
prop.
has to do home searches.
Well, we don't have to do home searches, but that's a standard that we've set in the community.
Well, that's the point I was getting to, Chris, that you're doing it to yourself.
And I think Supervisor Kroon, that's the only way I want to do business.
Understand?
You know, we went through many, many years in my career where we didn't search and we didn't test. We had a notebook and a transistor radio in the car, and I don't think that was the right way to do it. We are respected out there in the community for the job we do, and yes, we can say that Prop 36 set us up, so we're not going to do anything other than bank these cases and allow them to go through their programs, but we've all chosen to make the best of this and try to do the best we can. You know, if 25% of that 200 cases are successful, I guess we'll be pleased that we were able to accomplish that much.
I guess part of me as a taxpayer just upset that we're going to throw millions more money at drug people.
Well, Casey, I think we went down that road
I know.
when we, and I don't think any of us probably in this room voted for Prop 36, but I'll say we, meaning the voters of California, approved Prop 36. We started down that road, and all I think we're trying to do here is fix some of the shortcomings of Prop 36. You know, quite frankly, I think that given a few years, California's going to wake up and realize Prop 36 did nothing but cost us all kinds of monies and headaches. What it's going to do, it's going to cost us from standpoint is, you know, the person that is not going to, and there's a percentage of drug users, or that's their way of life. As long as they're not violent, as long as they're not hurting anybody, guess what? They get in a program or two and they can continue to use, because we're not going to lock them up. And so it's going to be a lifestyle with them, and I think it's going to end up, you know, coming back and biting California in the bud from standpoint is Prop 36 is going to do more detriment to California than good to California. And, you know, I don't want to throw another $18 million at something, but if that's what it takes to at least try to take something which I think is bad law, Prop 36, and try to make it good in Sutter County, then we've got to do these programs, because this is the type of stuff would have been done prior to Prop 36 with people that are in our system. And so I think I know where you're coming from, and I, you know, partially agree with that, but you know, we're just trying to make a bad proposition better here in Sutter County and make the people that are going through the programs go to the classes, but also be accountable. And the only thing I hope we do is take a little harder stance with those that when they do violate the conditions of Prop 36, that, you know, that our law enforcement agencies here in Sutter County and our judges in Sutter County aren't as lenient as they probably will be in some of the other counties that probably carried Prop 36. And I don't think that we'll have that problem here in Sutter County.
I look at it the same way as Dennis. I think this is a blunder bill for the state that we didn't basically support here, but we need a hammer to be able to support it. And if you don't have any kind of hammer with it, they're just going to continue using it and go to school and just have free ride. And I think it's a waste of money, unless we have, you know, some kind of a hammer.
Mr. Chairman, if the board is willing, we are asking that you authorize the chairman to sign a letter supporting SB 223, and that letter is attached to the staff report.
I'll be darned.
Casey, we'll let you sign under protest.
Casey's name's on there. No problem.
It's amazing how that works, isn't it?
That's because you're the chair. You get the big bucks.
That's it.
There you go.
I'll entertain a motion, please.
Move the recognition before us.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Carries unanimously. I can count to 3 before I even have to say it. Okay, that then brings us to item 31, which we have vacancies that have been noticed and appointments can be made. We had this one last time, In-Home Service Support Service Advisory Commission. And I would like to appoint Roxy Smith to that position.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, she's duly appointed. Our next appointment,
I asked the two following to be placed on the agenda for appointment. One is the Sutter County Substance Abuse Advisory Board, Stephen Johnson. would like the board to consider that individual as an appointee for that commission, and also for the Sutter County Community Action Agency, Sherry Lewis, who was on it previously as representative out of the 4th District, and she'll be serving as my representative for the 2nd District.
Oh, okay, so you're making 2 appointments at once?
Correct.
Okay, and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so duly appointed.
Good.
Brings us then to correspondence. Items 32 through 44. Any discussion? Okay, brings us back to public comments, or anyone in the audience that would like to address the board? Okay, seeing none. Other business board of supervisors? Mr. Silva?
Yes, thank you. I would like to close in memory of Robert T. Bartlett, 78 of Yuba City, died June 13th at his residence. He was born in San Francisco, and he was a resident of Yuba City for 53 years. And those of the old timers that will be around will remember that he was a longtime local auto dealer and sales manager for Anchor Motors, which is an old company, Bar J. Rambler, Dow Chevrolet, and Wheeler Oldsmobile. His wife still survives, Patricia, and of Yuba City, and his son Daniel, and 2 daughters, Roxanne of Seattle, Washington, and Susan Bergen of Mitterville, Indiana. And I'd like a letter sent to the family.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anything else?
That'll be it. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Nelson?
I have nothing, thank you.
Mr. Munger?
I have nothing, Mr. Chairman.
And I have 2. One is Pat Evans, who actually works for our county. Her brother passed away, and I'd like a letter sent to the family, and the man that passed away is Jack Mahue, and letter signed by, I guess, myself.
Second.
Okay, I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
And one that we already know about, Joan Bechtel's brother, has battled with his health for some time, and it's really caused Joan quite a bit of grief. As you can tell, she's not here this evening because of that reason, and so I'd like to adjourn in the memory of Harold Leonard Hancock.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, is there anything else from staff? Okay, in that case, I would like to adjourn to closed session, and this is according to item number 1 on the closed session. And prior to going to closed session, is there any comment from the public? Okay, seeing none, the board then will adjourn to closed session, and we will be adjourned of the main meeting right at this minute, I guess. Good evening.